Jai Hind. I am Dr. Aditya Pratap Singh, Associate Professor working in IT department in Ajay Kumar Garg Engineering College. Today again we are meeting with a new topic, that is conditional branching statements in C programming. So in all kind of programming languages, what happens, sometimes it is mandatory to perform certain kind of decisions. We need to take decision to move the control from one path of execution to another path of execution. So such kind of decisions can be taken based on these conditional branching statements. In most of the time, when we create a logic for solving a problem, it is most of the time requirement, if until unless the problem is very simple, then we have a straight path of execution for the program. But if the problem has a certain kind of logic and needs some decision making, then that kind of problem will definitely require a different set of executions. One path may be taken if the condition is true, another path may be taken if the condition is false. So it is generally based on some Boolean conditions. I say Boolean means either true or false. If the condition is true, then we will take path 1. If the condition is false, then we will take path 2. So it becomes possible with the use of these control statements. So let's try to understand what kind of control statements we have. So I have classified them, the control statements for decision making using branching and the control statement for decision making using looping. So in today's lecture, I will discuss only the branching statements, and in some other day we will have, or in the next lecture we will cover these looping statements. So the branching statements contain primarily these three parts. One is if statement, another is switch statement and conditional operator. So this operator is like this. We will cover this operator later on in during the presentation. And the if statements can be used in 4 ways: simple if statement, if else statement, nested if else statement, and if else ladder or multi-way path. So these we will cover in today's lecture. Switch statement, which is sometimes becomes a easy and more understandable solution for multiple if else construct. So the branching statements are basically important whenever you are making a decision based on some condition. So let's start with the simple if statement. The if statement in C programming language is a kind of conditional branching statement. In these conditional branching statements, a condition is evaluated, and after evaluation, if that condition becomes true, one set of statements are executed. If it is evaluated to false, that set of statement is skipped for execution. That means the compiler will not convert those statements. The execution path will not go through that statement if the condition is false. For a single if statement, we can write like if some condition and followed by a set of statement. If single statement, then nothing else is required. If multiple statements, then we will use these curly braces, and the n number of statements that will be treated as the block of statement. So it will be called if block. So this if block will be executed only if the condition is true. If after evaluation this condition is true, then this statement will be executed. Otherwise, this statement will be skipped. So let's try to understand through one program. Let's refresh our programming, which we have learned earlier in the previous lectures also. So we have one hash include statement, that is we include stdio dot h. This is the mandatory function for C programming because the execution starts from main. Now let's have like I am having one int. Let's have one age parameter. We will read this from users. For reading this, we use printf enter your age, and we will read it using scanf function. So scanf is a reading function. This is an integer kind, so we will use format specifier %d. Inside these curly braces, and we will store this value in age variable. So we have read the age variable from the user, and now depending on this age variable, we will take a decision. So for this, we use if branching statement followed by the condition. So if age is greater than equal to, so we will use equal to in different way in C programming language. Greater than equal to 18, then we will print like this, and we will close our program. So here what we are doing, we are checking the variable age. If its value is greater than or equal to 18, then we are printing this statement. Otherwise, this statement will be simply skipped and nothing will be printed. So this is the condition for simple if statement. In case of if statement, if the value is true for the expression, if the value is true, then these statements will be executed, otherwise they will be skipped. I hope I am clear about it. Next thing, what I want, if the condition is false, then what will happen? So in such situation, when the condition is false, what we need to do? We need to perform some other task. So this comes under if else statement. So this is a combination for if the supporting or complementary statement is else. So in this else part, if the statement under the evaluation or this expression becomes false, if it is true, then statement 1 will be executed. If the expression is false, then statement 2 will be executed. If true, then it will come here. If false, then it will come here. So, this is how if else works. Like if expressions, one block of statement will be executed, else another block of statement will be executed if the condition is false. So, let us change our previous program into if else construct. Okay. So, now if the age is not greater than or equal to 18, then we will use else. Else what we are going to do? We give another statement like printf like this. So, now we are having if else construct. In this, what is happening? If the age is greater than or equal to 18, we are giving a message like hooray, you can vote. Or in real applications, what will happen? The voting panel will be activated like this. Otherwise, the voting panel will not be activated, and a warning message will be given like sorry, you cannot vote, you can't cast your vote because your age is below 18. Some other factors may also be there which can be checked during the process. So, this is the simple example here we are considering for if and if else construct. So, if we want to use only one statement, if the condition is true, it will done, otherwise nothing will be done. So, if statement. If we want to consider both situation, in case of true one statement, in case of false another statement. So, such kind of arrangement is possible using C programming, using if and if else statement. These kind of branching statement we can perform such kind of task. So, a group of statement after the if statement and up to closing mark, closing bracket, and not including the else. So, that means just before the else statement, it is called the if block. If block means if the condition is true, if block will be executed. Similarly, the statements after the else block up to the closing or just one statement after the else block will be treated as else block, and it will be executed only if the condition is false or the evaluated expression becomes false. So, exactly below the if statement, else statement is used just after the if block. If block, then else block. If we need not to write any other statements, some statement which is not part of if we have given such statement, then that will give error. For example, if I have write like if age is greater than equal to 18 and we don't want to use this, we can use this like this, or what we can do, if I don't want to use this, then some statement 1 and statement 2, and then we use else statement 3. So, what will happen now? This statement, it will give error. because this statement is not in if block. This will not be treated as if block. If we want to treat it in if block, then what we need to do? We need to put curly braces. Otherwise, it will not be treated in if block. Next thing is nested if block. Nesting is a process of containing the same construct within itself. So, like the if or else block may contain another if else block inside its block, then this kind of arrangement will be treated as nested if. For example, here if expression 1 statement else if expression 2 statement. So, this construct is basically inside the else block. So, this kind of arrangement will be treated as nested if else block. So, this else block is nested else block. The case may also be in the if block. So, let us try to understand this by using one example. Okay, so take one example like one problem, greatest among 3 numbers. If we have 3 integer numbers, then I am just writing the code which is requiring if else construct. Rest the similar code for programming you are already aware of. So, let us check if A is greater than B. Let us have 3 numbers A, B and C of type integer. So, if A is greater than B, what will happen in this situation? That means A is greater. Now, C is still remaining. So, we will check it with if A is also greater than C. Then simply what we will do? That means, this means A is greater than B and A is greater than C. So, we will write A is the greatest. Otherwise, if not this, then what will happen? Else A was greater than B, but A is not greater than C. Then in this situation, who is greater? C is greater. So, we will give answer like C. So, this is the nesting of if block. Now, let us check in else. What is happening in else? Else means A is not greater than B. That means B is greater than A. So, again we will check if B is greater than C. In this situation, if B is greater than C and B is already greater than A, then who will be the greatest? B will be the greatest. Else, who is greatest? C is greatest. So, we can write nested if else situation like this. Or one other example of performing the same task, what we can do? We can take one more variable. If we take one more variable, then the things may be little easier. Like we are having int A, B, C, and let us take one max also. So, we can simply do one thing. Let us start with the A. So, let us have max equals A. We have taken that A is the maximum. So, let us check if max is greater than B, then what we need to do? Max will become if max is greater than b, then there is no issue. But if max is not greater than b, if max is less than b, then what we will write? We will put b in max. That means it's greater than a. Else, that means max is not greater than b, then what is required? Else, if max is smaller than c, then we will have max equal to c, and later on we will simply print max. So we can do like this. Different arrangements. If we want to have one more variable, then construct will be different. In this, we have used nested if else. So it's a good way of performing multi-way decisions. When we want to check multiple conditions depending on other condition, like here this condition is depending on this. If a is greater than b, then we are going to check a is greater than c also or not. So such kind of thing we can easily perform. Another construct is called if else ladder. When we want to add the else clause along with the if, we are coming like this expression is true, this will be executed. If it is false, then we are going to check another expression. Like in this example, we are going to check another expression. So else if expression 2 is true, then this statement will be executed. Otherwise, if it is also false, expression 2 is also false, then we will check expression 3. If true, then this will be executed. Else, expression 4 will be checked. This will be done. Otherwise, final, this statement is executed. And this kind of structure is called multi-way decision structure. Expression 1 is not true, then expression 2 check. If it is also not true, then expression 3 will be checked. If it is not true, then expression 4 will be checked. So this creates a multi-way decision. Path of execution for expression 1, expression 2, expression 3 and expression 4. So we are creating a multi-way decision using this if else ladder. Another construct for performing this similar kind of thing is the switch statement. Switch statement is also can be used as a replacement for if else ladder in certain conditions only. Not all kind of problems which can be solved using if else clause is not true that they can be solved also using switch. What are the constraints? We will cover it soon. So first, let's try to understand the switch statement construct. The switch statement is a multi-way decision that tests whether the expression matches one of its constant integer value and it branches its execution according to it. So here expression is checked only once. What the resultant value is, that depends where the control will move. So in this, the statements that allow us to take decision from a number of choices. So these choices are called cases. We use a case keyword here, but these cases must be only integer expressions. We use only constant integers as these cases. I have already covered in the previous videos that the alphabets are also treated as integers internally. Alphabets can be treated as integer because of their ASCII value. So their ASCII value will be stored they can be represented using format specifier %c for displaying a character, or if we use %d or integer format specifier, then their value will be treated. So they can also be used in place of integer constants. So here is the syntax for switch statement. In switch statement, we use one expression. So this expression will be evaluated and the resultant value will choose which path it needs to go. If it is equal to this constant expression, then these statements will be executed. Otherwise, if it is equal to this constant expression, then these set of statements are executed. If it does not matches with any of the case, that may be one situation. If it is not matching with any of the case, then in that situation, default clause will be used. So we will understand it using one good example also. What restrictions are there? So there something that you cannot do with the switch, like a float expression cannot be testing using switch. So this must be always a integer resultant value. Cases can never have variable expressions. I have told you that these cases are simply labels or integer constants. So we cannot use like this. We can use like this, or we can use like this. They must always be integer constants. Multiple cases cannot use same expressions. So for example, here, like if its value was this, then we cannot use the same value for another case. It will give syntax error. So this is the syntax for switch. We will use one expression, case value 1. If the resultant of this expression is value 1, then these statements will be executed. If the resultant of this expression is value 2, then these statements will be executed. So that means if it is coming here, if the value 1 is there, it is coming here if value 2 is there, it is coming here otherwise. That means neither value 1 nor value 2, then it will come to default state. So it is useful when expression is tested for multiple values. Another thing, it consists of a series of case labels and the optional default case. Break is a very necessary part of this. If break is not there, then what will happen? Let me make you understand. So like in this example, if the expression results in value 1, then control will come here and it will execute this statement. And if break is not there, then what will happen? These are simply labels. Labels means some mark in the programming code. So these marks will be ignored, and what will happen? After executing this, it will come here, and after executing this, it will come here. So that means when the first case is selected and all the code after that case will be executed if we will not use the break statement. So break statement is used here to simply jump out of switch block, because if depending on the expression value, if this statement is executed, our job is over. So what break will do? break will simply bring out the control from switch statement. So it is very necessary. I hope you understand the construct or the concept behind this case. Cases are only the labels inside a list of statements, but these are not actually statements. So they will not perform anything except the selection point. Like I say, page 4 para 6. So simply the control will move to page 4 para 6, and that otherwise if I am reading continuously, then page 4 para 6 doesn't mean to me. So in the same situation, if this statement is executed and break is not available, then it will simply move on to next statement. So this kind of label will not be significant for the control, and the execution continues from there. So here is the flow chart for this switch. So we start switch, we evaluate this expression. If the value 1 is matched, then these statements executed. Break means you are coming out. If unmatched, then value 2, if matched, these statements will be executed, otherwise value. So it will go on for checking different values of labels, and if no label is matched, then in that case default will be used. So default is optional. You can use default or you can not use default. After default, you will come out of a switch already. So let's try to understand with one example here. So this is an example for simple calculator. Like I have taken two values and this is the result. So we have taken some choices. So enter choice, we have read it as a character. So this choice is read as character, and we are evaluating the expression for our switch statement is the choice. So whatever is given as a choice, like if A is given, then it will be added. If S is given, it will be subtracted. If M is given, it will be multiplied, and D is given, it will be divided. So depending on the value of this choice, whatever user has input, these cases will be selected, and one case is selected. Like for example, the case M is selected, then in that situation R will be calculated, R is being printed, and the break is being used. Break means it will bring control out of switch statement. If none valid choice is found, then default will be executed. So if we try to understand the use of break in this, if I have put M, what will be executed? No break is being used. In this situation, what will happen? Let's try to understand. If M is input by the user, then this will be calculated. That means R will become 50. So R will become 50 and it will be printed. So what will be printed? R equal to 50. And there is no break. Then what will happen? These will be ignored and these statements will be executed. So what will happen? After this, R will be calculated, R equal to A divided by B. That means R equal to 5. So this statement will also be executed and there is no break. So next statement will be executed. That means after this, wrong choice. So these will be executed like this if we are not going to use break. So you can easily understand what is the use of break statement in switch. To come out of switch, and not to continue executing the statements coming after that in the selected case, we use break statement. Break is used in switch as well as break is also used in loop. The primary job of break statement is to terminate the loop, or here in this switch to come out of the switch block. So let's try to understand the switch block more in deep. Like in these cases I have already told you are used only as a label, and these labels are simply a point in the program, and the execution will continue from the matching label, and the program will continue execution until it reaches the break statement. So that's why it is necessary to use break at the end of each case. No curly braces are required in case constructs. The break statement has a vital role in the switch organization. If you remove these break statements, the execution will continue, which we have already understood through this example. And the default, when default is counted, if I have input like n, so n is not specified here, that means no choice has been matched. In this situation, default will be executed and the answer will be wrong choice. The last branching statement, that is conditional operator. It is not a statement, basically it is an operator which is used in statement. This is also used to perform branching decisions, that's why I put it in branching statements, with the use of the operator question mark and colon. So this operator is called ternary operator because it uses three operands. We can write like expression 1 question mark, expression 2 colon, expression 3. So these are the three operands. That's why we are calling it a ternary operator. So this operator, what will happen in this, one expression is evaluated for 0 or non-zero value, that is basically for Boolean values. Here direct Boolean type true or false are not available in C, so we check with the help of 0. The final selection between the two values is made depending on the result of expression. So if that means if its value is true, then this value will be final. If it is false, then this value will be final. So like let's do one thing. Expression 1 question mark, expression 2 colon, expression 3. So if it is true, then this will be executed. If it is false, then this will be taken. So like let's have one example. So here what is happening, if bill is less than equal to 3000, then the surcharge will be lower. So we will calculate like bill into 0.25% surcharge is calculated. Otherwise, if the bill is greater than 3000, then more surcharge will be charged and 0.5 will be multiplied into the bill. So we can do, instead of writing these statements, we can write it in a single line using conditional operator. Like surcharge will be calculated. So surcharge equals, it will be checked if bill is less than equal to 3000. That means these 3000 value is, if it is bill is lesser than the 3000, then, so if it is true, if it is false, so this will be calculated. Understood? If it is true, 0.25 will be multiplied and assigned to the surcharge. If it is false, 0.5 will be multiplied and assigned to the surcharge. So with the help of this conditional operator, we can easily do these kind of simple choice making or branching while selecting one value depending on the value of another expression. So today we have covered several decision making statements which are being used for branching purpose only. We have not covered the repetition of these kind of statements. This repetition is used generally using loops. So thank you all.